I can remember particularly family gatherings on a regular basis, practically every Sunday. And in my background, children were seen and children were heard. So we had a lot of people in our family who were professionals, doctors, lawyers, teachers, engineers, politicians. And Sunday afternoon, a lot of these relatives and friends would be invited for dinner. We would have discussions before dinner, during dinner, and after dinner. And I, as a child, was always a part of these discussions. And I learned a lot. I also loved my grandfather, my father's father, very, very much. He was as much of a father to me as my own father. And a great deal of respect for him. And even though I was just a little child, he was forever a teacher, sharing his experience and his wisdom with me. And unfortunately, I witnessed his death. Just he and I were together in the same room, and he died. And I was so traumatized that I was uncontrollable in my sorrow. I just was crying my head off. I can remember. And the priest came and he spoke to me about life and death and eternal life and this body and the soul. And he was so kind and so understanding. He walked by all the other relatives. He came directly to me to give me comfort. And I traced my vocation to the priesthood from that experience with Father Clement Esper. His name was Dr. Egil Grislis, and he was a Latvian, a Lutheran pastor and a PhD, and he taught us. And he had such a grasp of Calvin and Luther and Thomas Aquinas, and he was able to combine these disparate theologies in a very, very synchronistic way. And he was a very kind and a good man. And he'd started out as an unbeliever in Latvia. And he was a part of the Second World War. Hitler was bombing his country, and he had a best friend, and they were in a building that was being bombed. He grabbed the boy's arm, his buddy's arm, hand, to get him out of this building that was being bombed. And he ran out, and all he had was the hand and the arm. The boy was absolutely decimated. And he was so grief-stricken because of the loss of his very dear friend that God discovered him, or he discovered God. And from something that could have crushed him and destroyed any semblance of faith that he might have, instead he had faith and hope otherwise. It also taught me a lesson that troubles, difficulties, trials, hard situations can either make a person strong or they can break them. And I don't know if you know it or not, but I have a PhD in psychology. And I realize that the human beings are very fragile, but human beings are very strong. And I know that sounds inconsistent, but it has been my experience as a counselor that some people come out of their weakness to strength, and others, they just collapse with all the pain and difficulty that they experience. No. Well, yes and no. When I was 19, now this is very important. When I was 19, I had a corrective surgery on my ankle because I was coming down with arthritis. I was born with club feet, and they operated on me up to the age of 3. When I got to be about 15 or 16, I started to get cramps in my ankles. And then at 19, they did a surgery It's called a bilateral panarthrodesis, ankle fusion. And the incision got infected with staph, the bone got infected with osteomyelitis. So from the age of 19 up to close to 22, I was very sick. I wasted away from being a husky enough young man to weighing 68 pounds. And I was sallow complected. I smelt terrible because it was rotting. It was necrotic. The wound was necrotic. I could see the bones, my own bones, through this ulcerated thing. And if you've ever gone on a camping trip or a picnic and left a hamburger patty in the locker and then go back a month later in the garage and open it up and how terrible it smells, well, that's what I smelt like. So it was a pretty lonely time in my life because nobody could hardly stand to be around me. I couldn't even go to church because I went to church once and everybody moved way, 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 way over. They couldn't get far enough away. So it was a very, very bad time in my life. It finally healed up and I returned to the seminary, but I made a mistake. I went to the wrong kind of a place. I became a monk and I was not monk material. So after a year there, they told me you're not monk material and they sent me home. I was putting away all the ideas of being a priest out of my head because it just didn't look like it was ever going to happen. So there was this priest, I know he's a priest, but a little fat Italian man, his name was Giovanni Tondi, in bed, and I was changing his ice water and plumping up his pillow and all that kind of stuff. And I had my white uniform on and my name badge, just Thomas Deveraux, orderly, Mercy Hospital. So he said to me, "Tomas, why you not be in seminary?" I said, "What kind of a question is that?" He says, "I know seminarian, I know priest. Why you not be priest? Why you not be seminarian?" And I said, "I really don't think it's any of your business." Because I was really hurt by being dropped from the monk house. And I just thought he was being intrusive, invasive, and I just didn't want to, deal with him. "I insist. You tell me, why you not be priest? Why you not be in seminary?" And I said, "Well, it's none of your business. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I don't." So I walked out of the room. And I went to see my friend, Father Murphy, the one I told you believed in me all through the years. And he said, "Tom, what do you got to lose? Really, deep down, you want to be a priest. I know that. You know that. So tell him everything." I did. And he wanted my access to all of my documents, and I gave it to him. A few weeks later, he called up another priest, interviewed me, and I went back to the seminary for 7 years and was ordained a priest. But if it wasn't for Father Giovanni Tondi, I wouldn't be so. Also, deal with your feelings. Very important to recognize how I feel. Not how I should feel, but how do I feel about whatever. This person, this situation. And sometimes your feelings will be so confused or so heavy and so prevalent that they're just swimming around your head. You're having a conversation in your head. Write it out. Or in your case, do it on the computer. But get it out of your fingers. Put it there and out of you onto a piece of paper or a screen or whatever you want to do it, or on a piece of scratch paper, then grind it up or burn it up, but get it out. Do not bottle up your feelings. And forget about the have to's, gotta, should stuff. Experience your feelings. And as far as change and growth, it's slow. Don't expect instant results. If you run across some difficult person and you're having trouble with that difficult person, whether it's a neighbor, a teacher, a parent, or whoever, there may be no resolution to that. So simply express your feelings in some way. And have a friend. Have a friend with whom you can be truly honest and sharing about everything. Completely open and trusting, and be trustworthy yourself. Where what you say stays with this friend who cares about you and you care about them. It's very important.
Hi, I'm Daniela Denham.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Barrett.
Hi, I'm Constantina Boehm.